All right, we are recording. Hey guys, this is Anthony Scott, twyhypeusa.com. I am here with Bobby Vala of Valaverse. Bobby, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you since JoeCon. When was
20,
that last show? 2018?
2017?
2017?
2018?
Yeah.
2017 or 2018? I think 2017.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
And so this is the social distancing aspect of interviewing now using Zoom. And later it'll be uploaded on YouTube. You guys can watch it and share, please. We'd appreciate it. So, Bobby, I am so happy that you got Sergeant Slaughter. I have my Mattel Wrestling Slaughter here all set to showcase everyone. But I am thrilled to see that Sergeant Slaughter signed up with you. Please tell me, how did you do it? What is your magic?
I mean, it was like I don't know. It just, everything sort of worked out in the right way. I got a buddy of mine. He got me in touch with Sergeant's agent, and then we got to some prelim talking, and I made a pitch to him for what I felt was, how I was going to introduce the character into Action Force, not just as a figure, but like as an actual character, and have this whole backstory. And then they loved it, and they reached out to WWE just to kind of let them know, like, hey, we're doing this. And then everything just started kind of coming together. We signed on the dotted line, and I just started going to town. I designed the figure and got it all sculpted up, then got the parts made, and then made the model. And then, Sarge has been great so far. He made, the video that you've all seen. So he's like really, really into it, which is something I love. Yeah. That he's not just like, oh, it's just something I'm doing, but he like loves the fact that he's this character now, and he has this sort of new invigorated like spirit. He's not really doing much with WWE anymore, and he hasn't done anything with Hasbro in years. So it's like I came along and sort of said, hey, I want to bring Sergeant in a big way, and I think he loves that. He loves that it's such a hit. It's been such a success so far, and it's just working out all around for everyone involved.
Okay. Well, I'm very happy for you. Speaking of Sarge, I also have the Creo, which is the last thing that Hasbro did with Sergeant Slaughter, and his Triple T tank. This was San Diego, I think, 2015, something like that. Yep. And at the time, I know who you're talking about. What buddy? I asked that buddy, how did Hasbro do this? Because the licensing is difficult to get. It's all tied up with WWE. And the way he put it was that all the stars just aligned. It was something like that, is the way how he did it. So yeah, I was very happy when Sarge went with you. And I think a lot of people are too. I want to give a shout out to the Fully Posable podcast. Since I posted the coverage on Twitter, I tagged a few people I know, a few big time wrestling fans who retweeted it, and Fully Posable got wind of it, and they've been sharing with their readers. And I think that's in part how it spiked so fast, because they have a lot of wrestling readers, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So,
cool.
And so I'm just really thrilled that it's working out. So tell us Sergeant Slaughter's story in this verse. It's an alternate future from the original Action Force from the 80s. What's his role?
So his role is, if you kind of read the backstory of Action Force, it's almost as if I sort of predicted what is happening now in the country. It's like when I came up with the story a year ago, we weren't in this mess, but the way the story is there's no more federal government, and all the states run themselves, and they're now, each one is a republic, and with their own sort of government leaders. And then they sort of start like banding together and taking over each other. And that's when they like this new sort of power forms, but they're sort of just like doing it in an evil way. And then the Swarm come in as sort of this for hire security force. And they're brought in as sort of protectors, but behind the scenes, they're like, they're bad guys. Right. And Sarge is the guy who is the retired the retired military guy sitting back saying, I can't stand by and let this happen to the country and to the people that, this is happening to. He goes, something needs to be done. So he's the one that sort of is the catalyst for getting the members of Action Force together and coming together and then forming this group. So he's not like the leader, but he's the one that brings them all together. And, Sarge loves that aspect of the story, that he's this older, grittier, retired guy, but he feels compelled to do his duty and fight for peace. And that's why he brings everyone together to form Action Force.
Right. And it's so similar to his G.I. Joe character.
Similar, yeah.
Similar aspects, similar take of it. And, with Sarge, it's like the minute you see him out there in his Joe-type uniform, it's like, yo, Joe, any plans to give him like an iconic vehicle? I know you probably can't do his Triple T tank, but...
Yeah, that design's protected. But I keep getting asked about vehicles, and, vehicles are definitely something on my radar. It's not something I'll be able to do in like the first or second year of Action Force, but, once we get the line under us and get the product out and, we build on that success, I'm definitely going to start looking into vehicles because I have an idea of how to do it the right way. And, hopefully people will get behind it. But yeah, it'll be a long couple of years.
Okay. It takes time to build this stuff up. It doesn't happen overnight. Yep. And I'm just very thrilled this is working out so far. I was devastated when the first Kickstarter didn't go through.
Yeah.
I was buying some cool clothes to wear for San Diego Comic-Con that time. I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh, God, no. There it was. It didn't go through. And I think I even emailed you from that department store. I'm like, Bobby, I'm so sorry. But here we go. It's back. It's happening in a big way. Where are the figures now in production? How far along are they, and when can people expect?
They're currently in the tooling process.
Okay.
So all the steel's getting cut, and I should have my first samples by August.
Okay.
So I'll be able to get the test shots in August, which will be really exciting. And then, we're still on schedule for a March 2021 release.
Okay, good. I hope it stays with that. A lot of companies have been experiencing setbacks.
Yeah. There was a small delay. I mean, we were originally slated for December, but, a few months, I'll take a few months. It's not bad at all.
Absolutely. So some of the other characters in Action Force, do you think that we'll see any more G.I. Joe type aspects from it? You have Steel Brigade and you have Action Force, which G.I. Joe fans are very familiar with those names. Do you think that more aspects of it could be coming?
I don't know. I got asked that a few days ago. Someone was like, oh, what's the next thing you're going to steal? I think we're going to take a break from that. It's like Action Force was, what I want. I felt like the line needed to be revived, and it was, I didn't want it to kind of sit dormant and dead. Steel Brigade, obviously my favorite Joe. So, I wanted to get that. And then Sarge was just the perfect, puzzle piece for it all. But I don't know if something, if I come up with a cool idea for something, I see that maybe a name is, available for trademark or something like that, maybe. But as of right now, I think enough.
Yeah, I hear you. But all right. So I have a couple of questions about G.I. Joe.
Okay.
First question is, I have Scarlet, I have Roadblock, and I have Duke in hand. I do not have Snake Eyes and Destro. They haven't come in yet. But now I wanted to ask you, did you sculpt these?
No. I had nothing to do with that line.
Okay.
I developed a 6-inch line when I was there working on Joe, but they didn't use that line. After I came off the brand and went back to Marvel, another designer came on and made that abomination that you have in your hands.
All right, so that's the guy I have to poke at for redesigning these, just keeping away from their iconic looks. What do you think of them?
I've been very vocal about it. I think they're terrible. I think they're over designed, they're over decoed, they're so far removed from their characters. They're I don't know, they have this weird sci-fi Fortnite look to them, and I just don't dig that. I would have liked a more realistic military version. You know, it's like Roadblock has this big tuning fork as his weapon, and everything's just designed very lazily and with no reasoning behind it. And there's also a lot of errors on the line. I mean, you know, look at Gung Ho, for instance, the Gung Ho figure that they just revealed.
Okay.
Gung Ho is a Marine. Now, Ron Rudat designed him as a Marine. Ron Rudat did his research. Ron Rudat got reference for what a Marine looks like, what a Marine dress is like. And the Gung Ho that is out now has an Army hat, which is very different from a Marine's hat, an 8-point hat. And that's just poor design. That's very lazy design work. That's not referencing, not research, knowing that Gung Ho is a Marine. You can't have a Marine have an Army hat. That's almost like blasphemy in a way. So it's things like that I just feel that were just done so poorly. I don't care for really any of the designs. The Captain Crunch Cobra Commander does not thrill me in the least. You know, the Pimp Daddy Destro is interesting, that they did something like that so early on, you know, because that's a very niche fan thing. So that's interesting. Overdone, like I think like it's kind of crazy as it is. I don't think you needed to go overboard. But that's what I'm saying with that line. It's a design in a way where it's over designed. There's things done for no reason, and it's just, you know, a lot of it I don't care for at all.
Okay. What do you think of the facial likenesses? Same thing, over designed?
I haven't gotten them in hand. The
Okay.
cool thing is that they're doing the digital face printing,
Yeah.
which is cool because, you know, if you look at Marvel Legends isn't there yet with their comic characters. They only do it for movie characters.
Mhm.
So to see G.I. Joe doing it for, you know, characters that don't have an actor likeness is very cool. Now, the Action Force figures will all have the same application with their face deco. It'll be that same digital printing technology.
Okay.
So that's interesting that they're doing that. But, you know, if anything, I think maybe the head sculpts are the best part of them. You know.
Yeah, I thought so. You know, that's the first thing I looked at when I had these in hand. I'm like, okay, well, for the most part, they look like the character. And then the rest of it, you're right. It's a bit, I'm going to use your words, an abomination to toys.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you.
I look at the new line almost like the Rise of Skywalker. You divided the fans. You
Yeah.
know, you tried to do something outside the box,
Mhm.
and you really didn't hit a home run with it. So now you have half these. 6-inch was a gamble to begin with because you weren't going to get all the Joe fans anyway, because a lot of the Joe fans are very hardcore 3 3/4.
Mhm.
So say you only have 50% of the fan base. Well, now you're taking that 50% and now you're splitting it in half again because you're dividing people because of the direction you went with the designs of the figure. So, you know, I'm a little weary of how successful it'll be based on, you know, the reviews and the feedback I'm seeing from people.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also want to add, I was upset that Gung Ho had hair. You
That
know,
too. I didn't dig that either. And it's like
no,
if you want to give him maybe like a high and tight or like a fade, okay, because that's a typical military cut. But
right.
the mohawk, again, that designer, he designs for no reason. Like he just over designs it. He's just one of these guys that says, "Oh, a mohawk would be cool. Let's put a mohawk on him." It doesn't. It's not necessary for the character, and it's very silly.
Yeah, you know, I guess it's okay to say this, but when you and a few other people left Hasbro, you know, you guys were very passionate over the brand and everything, and this never would have happened under you guys. And
No,
I miss that.
no.
You know, I think a lot of, I'm not going to say who I'm talking about, but I think the core fans know who I'm talking about in recent years. Had a really good Joe team in place. And right now, I'm really missing that. I'm looking at Roadblock,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Duke, and there's definitely elements other than the head sculpt that I have a problem with. You know, and maybe the rifle, it looks okay in the backpack, but the rest of it, is not great. But
Yeah.
Destro, I'm happy they kept, for the most part, his classic look. I think that's going to do very well. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Snake Eyes looks pretty decent too. So going back to Action Force, how many characters do you think that will be a part of this for at least the first
So
year, the first story?
yeah, for series one, all the items are available and locked in right now. So there's 6 core characters, 3 basic troopers, and then a bunch of accessory packs. But if for those of you that followed the Kickstarter, there were a lot of characters that didn't get unlocked during the Kickstarter, and those characters will be part of series 2. So we're looking at Trigger and Downrange, and then I'm hoping to get the female characters in the line for series 2. So I already kind of have my series 2 set in a way. It's already kind of there and laid out. But at the same time, I'm always thinking of new characters, and I got ideas and things like that, and I got a few cool exclusive ideas. So it should get really really interesting moving forward for Action Force.
Where do you get your inspiration when creating some of these characters?
This room. This is it started out as my Joe room. I have all the Joe figures, and every wall looks like this wall where it's just figures after figures. And when I left Hasbro and then I started Action Force, I kind of had to turn this room into my office. So now it's like I have Action Force models all over the place. But it's cool because this is like my room of inspiration. So there's toys and Joes and everything all over the place. So it's easy to come down here and actually get creative.
Oh, that's great. Do you have the prototype of Sergeant Slaughter with you?
I do.
Can you show people?
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna hold up my WWE Elite Sergeant Slaughter. I'm gonna give you guys the first comparison between the two.
Come on, there's no comparison. Look at that, Sarge.
All right, well, yours is definitely better. I guess the hat comes off.
Yeah, the hat and the glasses come off. So,
okay.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep. And you can see all the pictures that I have online on the pre-order site have detailed pictures of him with his hat off and all the details of him, all of his accessories.
Okay, cool. All right, just putting this hat back on. All right. So when you were at Jazwares, you went there from. Did I lose you? Okay.
What was that? Yeah. You broke up for a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's the connection. It says I have all of the bars, but it's been a little bit of cutting out, and I do apologize for everyone about that. This hasn't happened before like this. Jazwares, you sculpted the AEW figures.
No, the UFC figures.
UFC. Sorry about that.
UFC. Yep.
How is that? Do you know how the outcome has been on that so far? Fan feedback.
It looks pretty positive. I didn't sculpt them. I designed them. So I was designing and managing that line while I was at Jazwares. It was like literally, it was almost like a dream come true because like my second day starting at Jazwares, they came to me, they're like, hey, we got the UFC license. Do you know anything about it? And I'm like a huge UFC fan. Yeah. And they had an event in Florida that weekend that I got to go to, which was cool. And, I was very excited to work on that line. So it was great kind of having they kind of just let me run with it because they were like, you got the experience with UFC. So, we'll just leave it in your hands. And that was great to have that design freedom to just come up with this cool line. And, they look great. Like I said, hey, listen, if we're going to make this line different from the line that Jax had, we have to do certain things different, and I said, we should probably do soft good shorts, see if we can get that spandex feel to the shorts so that, the old Jax figures, they had these thick hard plastic shorts. So it was hard to get the figures in those poses and, especially in the jujitsu moves. So I felt like the spandex shorts would help get better posing for the figures. And it looks like they nailed it. Everything looks great. So I can't wait to I pre-ordered a set from Ringside Collectibles. I can't wait to get them in hand to see how they look, because from what I've seen so far, they look great. And I'm really excited for the line.
Good. Yeah, I can't wait for them, but they definitely look good. Anything you produce, I'll probably end up buying. You're definitely one of the best in our time.
Oh, thanks.
So to get the facial likenesses, I guess you use the facial digital sculpting, things like that. What did you use for that?
For the UFC, we worked with Gentle Giant, which is a great sculpting house, and they're great with their portraits. So I sent a ton of reference for which expressions I wanted on the characters, and they sculpted it up from there, and they did a great job. So there was no digital scanning or anything like that for this one. So to see the sculpts done from scratch was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're typically really good on pretty much anything they make, from figures to busts, stuff like that. They're definitely very popular. Back to Action Force. So I was reading up about it again just to refresh my memory today, and I wanted to ask you a few questions about the Swarm. What was the idea behind them? Because there doesn't seem to be a leader.
No, not yet.
Okay.
It just the leader hasn't been introduced yet. So the Swarm, think of like in RoboCop, think of OCP. OCP was this private security company that was trying to get rid of the cops and have their Ed 209s manning the streets for their own benefit. And that's sort of what the Swarm are. They're this mysterious security force that comes in. They're supposed to be helping people, but really they're sort of behind the scenes, like doing some evil and taking over areas, and for the puppeteer pulling the strings, which will come out later on.
Okay, now puppeteer, that wasn't hinted at something, right?
No.
Just give a
It's
hint.
just
Okay.
the guy in the shadows pulling the strings, or girl in the shadows pulling the strings. We don't know yet.
Okay, could be guy and a girl. It could be, okay.
Yep.
I like that. So is there anything else you wanted to mention about Action Force? Will there be a series of comics? Are you working on that?
Yeah. The comics, now that the Sarge deal is done and that figures out for pre-order, my priority now is for the comics, because I have a bunch of issues done. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to go about distributing the comic.
Okay.
And I'm thinking maybe a digital subscription site, and then for conventions do a collected trade for a convention exclusive. So that looks like how I'm leaning towards doing it.
That's a good idea. Do you think an animated series would be possible?
You never know. I would love it if it was like a live action, dark, gritty Netflix show, but you never know.
You could go the route that the guys from Alternation are doing. Pandemonium Toys. They have a little animated series going on. It's pretty good with their new characters. It's on YouTube. That might be the way to go about it. And I'm sure Sergeant Slaughter would have no problem voicing his character. I would
not at all. We were talking about it yesterday, and he's got all sorts of ideas, and I think a show, whether it be animated or live action, would be perfect for him.
Absolutely. So I saw your Instagram post yesterday. You said your wife took a picture of you as you were talking to Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
You had a picture of, I wish I could tell 7-year-old me.
That was me for my birthday, my 7th birthday.
Yeah, that's great. What was the feeling like talking to Sergeant Slaughter?
It was wild, because it's like I've met him a couple times.
Okay.
But I never got to when I met him, he's Sergeant Slaughter. But when I was talking to him, he was still Sergeant Slaughter, but it was different. It was very cool, because it's like he's saying my name and he's talking about Action Force. And I'm like, wow, is this really happening? This is crazy.
Yeah.
It was very, very surreal, and hearing that grovelly voice, it was so cool. And, here he was telling some cool wrestling and Hasbro stories. And I was like, I could sit on the phone with him for 5 hours just listening to him just tell stories. But he's great. And like I said, he's so into this that he's got these ideas, and a lot of the ideas he had, I'm like, yes, we should do that 100%. So it's great having him as a partner because he's so open to helping out and doing whatever he can to help promote this and get the line out there and make sure that this is as successful as can be. And, I couldn't be happier with how it's going so far.
That's great. I'm so happy this is working out for you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about Action Force? About any of the characters or anything? I haven't seen your other interviews. I have such a limited time with everything that I do.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's hard to say because people are like, oh, what's your favorite character? Yeah. And it's hard because I created them all. So they're all like my children. But, obviously I have a special spot for Steel Brigade because of what a big Steel Brigade fan I am. The Stormtrooper, seeing the Stormtrooper model, like after I finished it, I was like, these guys are really cool. But then it's like the Bone Collector. The Bone Collector is a very, very cool character. So, and now it's like, now they're Sarge. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing all of the characters, finally come to life. But I'm really looking forward to the females. I feel like, I really wish we got to Pandora and Eclipse during the Kickstarter because I feel like they're very strong characters and people really got behind those characters and really, really, had positive things to say about those characters. So I'm looking forward to Series 2 getting those characters out. But, we're taking it one step at a time. The focus is on Series 1 and getting the product in people's hands so that, people can, review it and take photography and really enjoy the product that they've been looking forward to for, over a year. Other than that, I mean, I think they're all great, but I'm a little biased,
Yeah, I hear you. Do you think that G.I. Joe sales will help Action Force, perhaps?
They already have, because when I closed the pre-orders originally back in January.
Okay.
And I just, thought, okay, well, pre-orders are in and we're just going to go to tooling and produce the line and that'll be that. But then when they announced at Toy Fair, the 6-inch Joe line, I said, okay, well, they didn't make realistic weapons and people were complaining about the space weapons.
Right.
So I reopened my pre-orders because I have all these weapons packs and people started getting all the weapons packs to outfit their Joes. And then it started giving this new momentum to Action Force. And then all the other characters started getting purchased again as well. And all these new customers were in that didn't know Action Force originally. So I had this kind of momentum riding for the last few months. And then all of a sudden the Sarge thing hit. Yeah. And now it's taken to a whole new level now. It's very overwhelming. It's way bigger than I expected, especially like now it's getting out to the wrestling fans. There was a wrestler that posted it on his Instagram and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then he reached out to me and wanted to know more about what the Sarge figure is all about. It's getting out to the wrestling websites. It's been really, really cool so far to see how it's getting out to all these new people.
Yeah, well, Sarge is such an iconic character that everyone remembers from the 80s. And knowing is half the battle. So I'm very thrilled. It's coming together nicely. Do you think that any other wrestlers would want to be part of this?
You never know. I may be talking to one. You never know.
Okay.
So we'll see. It's I keep getting asked like, who's the next celebrity? Who's the next person that's going to be in the line? I think Sarge was the perfect fit. And it's not about like, who's the next Sarge or, anything like that. Sarge was, I felt like an important part of Action Force. And I don't want to feel like, oh, well, I have to then, upstage Sarge. Sarge is the guy in the line and he's what's important right now. But you never know, down the road, there might be another celebrity likeness, thrown in there, because G.I. Joe did it with a few people. But, Sarge is the priority right now. And Sarge is the guy that's leading the pack.
Okay. You mentioned that there's at least one villain behind the swarm. Do you think there could be a series of villains other than?
There may be. There
Okay.
may be. I'm keeping it very, very close to me right now because we're building it through the comic and the story. So it's a slow build on who's sort of running the show with the swarm.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Count me in. I'm
Awesome.
very happy for you. I also want to say congratulations to the new addition of your family.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I think this was maybe before Christmas. You posted pictures on.
She was born in August, so she'll be a year in a couple
Okay.
months. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby, for taking some time and talk to me. We greatly appreciate it. I wish you all the success in the world. Keep us posted. Keep up the great work. I hope there are more wrestlers jump on board this, more familiar faces. I think it could be huge. I hope we see an animated series from this. It looks big. Vehicles too. I can't wait. And I have some ideas for vehicles too. I'll email you later some of those ideas.
Excellent.
We'll talk about it on video. But thank you. And I love the display. I think it's great. I love those shelves. Now, tell us, those are all G.I. Joe. Those are all 4-inch Joes. And
yeah, this wall right here is 82 to 94. So that's every figure from the vintage line. And that wall back there was all of 2007 to present time. And then over here is my Steel Brigade wall, and then all my prototypes or inexpensive stuff over here. But, the flag was behind me, but when I shot my Action Force video, I had to cover the flag with a tablecloth and put all my Action Force models up to do that. So it kind of, a lot of the Joe stuff is getting covered up right now. So once I get a proper office for Action Force, then I can, get the Joe room back to its glory.
Yeah, that's great. So if anyone doesn't know, the flag was an 80s vehicle, one of the largest ever created for G.I. Joe. 4 foot long.
7 feet long.
What was that?
7 feet long.
7 feet long. That's right. Yeah, it was huge, and it could hold a lot of vehicles, planes, things like that. I don't think I ever had one, but I definitely
I didn't have one when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's like, where do you put it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you had like a big basement or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you so much for talking to us. And again, I wish you all the success in the world, and keep us posted.
You got it. Thank you. The pleasure. You got it. Pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you having me on.
Sure thing. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Anthony Scott of ToyUpUSA.com. Please subscribe to our channels. Please subscribe to Bobby's channels. Please buy his stuff. There's links right below the video where to buy. Support Bobby. He's got a family to raise. Let's make this happen. Buy the Sarge figure if you haven't already. Buy 2. 1 to play with, 1 to keep in packaging. Right? There's a lot of people that do that. And keep buying his stuff. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.